subscribe.
He has also talked about his that left hook is so good, and it's so long and so precise and so hard,
that, this is do or die.
Is it a now or never fight for you?
It really is.
If you don't win, is this it?
No, I'm not gonna even put that in the atmosphere. I'm not gonna put that into the universe. It's unhealthy to talk like that. But that is how I've got to treat this in terms of my mental, in my mental state going into this fight. I have to give this fight everything I've got.
Yeah.
I can't afford any mistakes. I can't afford any slip-ups. This is the most important fight of my life.
So that was a little extract from an interview that Chris Eubanks Jr. Took part in. He was interviewed by Gary Neville, and I didn't know Gary Neville was doing interviews, to be honest. So it was quite interesting to see him interviewing in a different sport. I thought he was quite good, Gary Neville, to be honest. But yeah, he interviewed Chris Eubanks Jr. They spoke about quite a few things related to the rematch with Liam Smith, obviously. And I've watched a few interviews with both fighters, more Chris Eubanks Jr., to be honest, than Liam Smith, because I want to kind of see where Chris Eubanks Jr.'s mindset is at, where his head is at, basically. I feel there's a few things I think about Chris Eubanks Jr. So initially, in the first fight, I wasn't sure who would win. I've never really been a huge fan of Chris Eubanks Jr.'s boxing, and not just his boxing, but him as a person, really. I always thought he was a little bit arrogant. Surprise, surprise. I know I'm not the only one. Many people thought that, but I've always seen this arrogance in him, and I feel like I'm a big fan of his father, but I feel like his dad is somewhat to blame, because early on in his career, Chris Eubanks Sr. kind of amped his son up as, like the second coming, the best fighter of all time. He's going to be way better than Floyd Mayweather. No one's going to beat him. He's going to retire undefeated. He's going to move up and beat Canelo and Golovkin. And he said all sorts of things about his son. And obviously his son, looking up to his father, he just fed off all of that and just lapped it up, basically, and believed all these things that his father was saying. And there was no actual proof that he was going to do all these things. But, that's how fathers are. If you look at John Fury thinks that Tyson Fury can do anything. The only difference is Tyson Fury has proved it so far. But at the time, Eubanks hadn't really done much. And his father kind of built this false confidence in him. And I feel like when Eubanks Jr. started losing, it was easier for him to come up with different excuses for why he lost than to actually come to terms with where he really is at in his skill level, and then start to improve. When he lost to Billy Joe Saunders, it was just an off night. He was coming on strong. He would have beaten him. It was excuses. I know I'm a better fighter than him. So he was able to dismiss. That just goes to show how far this kind of delusion goes in Chris Eubanks Jr.'s head. That he was able to dismiss that loss. He came up short again against George Groves. The excuse was, he was huge on the night, much bigger than me. This kind of thing. He's really a cruiserweight, or whatever he called him, light heavyweight. So there was the excuse of the size difference and stuff like that. So basically, all this was doing was not allowing him to face the reality of his actual ability. And that's what he was doing. And even with all these losses, he was still able to keep that arrogance where he just believes that he's just naturally better than all these fighters and he doesn't have to prove it. Now, this fight with Liam Smith is different because I feel like the loss against Liam Smith, where he, got KO'd basically, it kind of forced him to change this narrative now. Also combined with the fact that he's getting older, I see him as being a little bit more mature. But if he would have won, he would have still kept up that same kind of arrogant mindset that he's just better. He can turn up at 40%, 30%, no sleep, and still beat someone like, Liam Smith and stuff. He could have still had that mindset. But that mindset has been destroyed, completely destroyed. Now, when I see Chris Eubanks Jr. in interviews, he's a lot more humble. He is so much more humble, so much more realistic. He now realizes that these other fighters that he has been completely underestimating for so many years and looking down on everyone else, he now realizes that he is in the race with them. He's neck and neck with all these other fighters. He's just a normal fighter who has to train as hard as possible to have a chance of winning, just like everybody else. And although he still has the confidence that he believes on his best day he can beat, a fighter like Liam Smith, and it's good that he still has it. He didn't completely lose confidence, but he lost the edge of that kind of arrogance. And I feel like that's exactly what he needed all this time. The reason why his whole career has stagnated, the reason why he hasn't achieved anything of any note, is all because of this arrogance. The thin line between arrogance and confidence, and Eubanks Jr., although he doesn't think he was arrogant, he was always on the side of arrogance. And now I feel like he's crossing over into the world of confidence. And so that's a good place to start. Like I said, the interviews that I've seen him, he's now concentrating on, he's now giving Liam Smith some props for what he did. He's now also saying he's training as hard as possible. He changed his whole team. I think this was a good idea. I don't think Roy Jones was a good fit for him, to be honest. Now it's with Bomac. Bomac is proven. We all know that Terence Crawford is the best fighter in the world, and he wouldn't get to where he is if he didn't have Bomac. The other good thing I like about the team that Chris Eubanks Jr. has chosen is the fact that they have a separate strength and conditioning coach. They have a whole team supporting Eubanks Jr. This is much better than Roy Jones just kind of doing everything. I don't think that was working. I'm not saying that's why he lost, but I don't think that was working. I do think he's in a good place with this team. Unfortunately, I don't think they've really had time enough to work together properly, to completely change a routine. You need to it needs to become muscle memory. He's now training in the mornings when before he used to train in the evenings. Just that alone is going to mess up your whole rhythm, and it's going to take time to get used to that kind of routine. And I don't think Eubanks Jr.'s had enough time, so he may lose again, but I do think that he should stay with this team. He's in the right place. Like I said, I doubt he's had enough time, but I think it's better than nothing. He's going to be trying something new on the day, and I feel like that's much better than trying to be Roy Jones. That was never going to work for him. Now, do I think he's got a chance? Well, there's a few things he's changed. Training in the morning instead of waking up whenever he wants and then training in the evening, which wasn't good. And now he's changed that whole thing. They seem to be working on how to set up combinations in a different way from how Roy Jones was kind of teaching him. A lot of different things. I saw him shadow boxing, and he looks a lot more alert, a lot faster, better timing. I feel in this fight he's not going to sit back like he was before, because he was way too relaxed. He would take his foot off the gas, and when Beefy Smith would come forward, he would lay back very nonchalant and trying to catch and then shoot. I don't think he's going to give him that chance again. He should try and push the action, slip the punches, and when it's defense time, he should be fully invested in defense and movement. When it's attack, he should be sharp, fast, and in quickly. I don't think he should give Smith that much space as well to kind of throw a lot of combinations, because Smith will throw 10 punches and one of those punches are going to hit you. He's very aggressive. You can't lay back and allow him to do all that in the hope that you get a chance to counter him. I don't think it works that well with someone like Smith, because Smith is much smarter than he looks. His fighting style is much smarter than it looks. He looks as if he's just coming forward, throws a lot of shots, but he does a lot of things right. Stays low, keeps that high guard. He feints a lot to see what kind of movements you're going to do prior to letting off his combinations, and then when he kind of sees where your tendencies are, that's when he gets himself in a really good position, and then that's when he lets off those shots. He does things that are a lot more calculated than they look, and I feel that Chris Eubank Jr. is in the perfect position now to realise that Beefy Smith is not just a straightforward come forward fighter. I think he realises that now. Can he adjust? Well, I think he's got a much better chance of winning this rematch than he did in the first, just because of the fact that he's no longer underestimating him. He now has an idea of how hard he punches. He now has a good idea of what kind of fighter he is, and I know they'd sparred many rounds, but in real life he now knows under the lights what someone like Smith can really do. So I think he'll be wary of that. Nevertheless, if I had to pick, I'd probably go for Smith again, because I feel like even watching Eubank Jr. in training and in sparring, he has this tendency to wait too long. Watching his work, he'll let off a few punches and then he'll kind of stand still, and it's not even like he's waiting to counter. He just takes a little bit too long to get his shots off, and he's always been like this from the first fight I've seen him in. It's always been the same. He has speed when he's punching, but he takes a long time to warm up, to get those punches flowing, and he's got away with that with a lot of fighters, but he can't get away with it with Liam Smith, because Liam Smith is a total opposite. Liam Smith comes in, starts fast, pressures you straight away, lots of head movement, comes in low very quickly. He gets right into his game plan. He pressures you straight away, throws a few shots, slips, feints you a lot, and then as soon as you make the mistake, he's in. Hard punches, and it's all over. He's very quick. His timing is very good. He keeps a good guard. He's not scared to get in the line of fire, because he does have his hands up. He's very fundamentally sound, and that fundamentals that I see in Liam Smith that I don't see in Eubank is what allows him to finish a fight quickly. And I feel like the worst style against Liam Smith is a style of someone who waits too long. And waits too long to fire his shots, and leans on the ropes and waits for counters. I think that's the worst style, and that's the style that Eubank has. It doesn't look good, personally. Now, Eubank Jr. could change his style and come forward and put pressure on Liam Smith and throw a lot of shots, but he doesn't really fight like that. He gives away a lot of space. He gives away the center ring by going on the back foot. And then he waits too long. And if you wait too long against someone who's really good at cutting off the ring, what happens? You find yourself cut off. You find yourself in the corner. And if you're in the corner against someone who's throwing lots of shots at you, you end up in the same position, covering up. And it just doesn't... It's just the wrong style for Eubank, I feel. I mean, in some aspects, he's improved as a fighter, but in some different ways, he's gone backwards. The early Eubank Jr. Style against kind of George Groves, when he was very aggressive and he would come forward and throw a lot of shots and stuff like that. I think that style is more likely to work against Liam Smith than the style where you're waiting to counter and you're laying back and you're giving away the centre ring and you're getting pushed in the corner. So I hope he changes that, but I don't see him being able to change his whole style. He still isn't fast enough, snappy enough, I mean, it's quite strange because he's quite athletic and he does have speed, but at the same time he's quite ponderous, and I I never thought I'd put those two things together, but that's Chris Eubanks Jr. Ponderous, but also quite fast. I don't know how those things match up, but they just seem to describe Chris Eubanks Jr. when he's in the ring. And I just feel like you can't be ponderous against Liam Smith. Liam Smith makes quick decisions, and you know, he gets stuck in straight away. So we're gonna have to see what happens. But it's gonna be a good fight. I do think it will be a better fight than the first. I think Chris Eubanks Jr. eventually will unravel because of his poor fundamentals, and I think that's going to be his biggest downfall. He has these poor fundamentals, his footwork. I feel that Liam Smith's footwork is just better. You know, he's in and out. He's more efficient with his movement. He always moves forward, but he'll slip from side to side, and he's always progressing. Liam Smith, you know, hardly ever on the back foot. If you attack and he goes on the back foot, just for a moment, he gets his hands up, and then he's back to slipping back into position, and his footwork is back progressing, pushing you against the ropes. You know, where he's not kind of like moving or lots of different places or anything like that. And you can just see the difference. And I just feel like that is a hard thing to overcome when you've got a guy that can do that. And Liam Smith is only getting better. Chris Eubanks Jr., I feel like he's somehow regressing. So, you know, I wouldn't like to predict that he's going to lose. But I think the fight probably goes either the distance. Maybe he'll lose a decision if he's lucky. If not, he'll get knocked out worse than he did the first time. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Am I completely wrong about this? I mean, to be honest, the only thing that gives me some doubt, like some hope that he can do much better in this fight, is his mindset. That I feel like his mindset has changed. I feel like he's up against it. I can see some real venom that he really wants to win. He's willing to do whatever it takes. He's definitely not going to be relaxed. All those things that he's done before because of a kind of an arrogant mindset, I feel like that's all gone now. But I don't know if that's enough for him to win. So I don't know. Let me know. Like I said, do you think Eubanks Jr. has a chance of winning? My money's on Liam Smith for the win on this occasion. But I feel like Eubanks may lose. If he loses by some kind of a close decision, I think he should stay with Bomac and actually learn fundamentals and improve his skill set. Listen to his trainers for once and really make some real improvements. But yeah, my prediction, Liam Smith for the win. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'm on to the next one. If you enjoyed the video, please shoot me a like. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Share and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.